welcome to Build and Deploy, the video series where we talk with Oracle customers and partners so that they can walk us through their architecture design deployed on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. My name is Jigar Modi. I'm working at Oracle as a Principal Program Manager for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, mainly focused on high-performance computing, HPC, and GPU offerings. Today, I have with me Alan Perry, who is the Director of Engineering at YellowDog. So thank you, Alan, for joining me. As a starting point of this discussion, would you mind introducing your role at YellowDog and how do you help customers around the globe?
Hi, Modi. It's great to talk to you today. So yeah, I'm Director of Engineering at YellowDog. I've been working on our platform for the last 3.5 years. We have a multi-cloud workload management platform, typically for high-performance compute customers, and we really help them take their high-performance compute and get massive scale on the cloud. We really see customers from a range of industries coming with a range of kind of maturity, and we have a suite of tools that will help them in their transition.
Thank you, Alan. So, Alan, let's deep dive into the architecture diagram on the screen. And I'm wondering if you could walk us through the design in brief.
The platform itself is actually, from an infrastructure level, doesn't look that interesting. It's 3 virtual machines spread across a single subnet across 3 availability domains in OCI in London. Those virtual machines are organized as part of a Kubernetes cluster. So we use micro K8s. And really, one of the high-level design requirements for the YellowDog platform was to have portability. So we wanted to be able to deploy this into any cloud provider and also to be able to take it on premise. So that's really why you see kind of very minimal reliance upon some of the high-level cloud service offerings. So if you take a look at the bottom half of the architecture diagram, you're going to see a number of clustered compute environments down there. And those are, we have 2 kinds of clustered compute environments. One of them is what we call provisioned. So we provision those from Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And one of those is called configured. And that essentially is an on-premise environment. With the provisioned clusters, we come to Oracle because we've got a couple of requirements. We need great price performance and we need great capacity and scalability of those. We use a range of provisioning strategies. So we use spot instances, we use on demand, we also use your instance pools, we use virtual machines, we use your bare metal. So really, depending upon the customer's requirements, we'll provision huge amounts of compute into a clustered environment and manage the workload all the way through.
So I have one more question about the microservice architecture, right? So I know that you have some high-profile customers using YellowDog's platform as a service. How do they go and access them on Oracle Cloud? Do you use any load balancer or any kind of front end that you want to describe here?
So the YellowDog platform, as I said, is deployed on top of a Kubernetes environment, and we use micro K8 so that we're not reliant upon any cloud providers' implementation of Kubernetes. So it's microservice. We've got a number of key services striped across those worker nodes as replica sets. So we've got a bunch of kind of YellowDog services, our own special source that we've developed internally to solve some of these challenges. And we've got a number of foundational services, which are typically open source products that help us in doing that. So database services, event streaming, relational databases, and all the kind of observability and manageability that you need to kind of operate at this kind of scale. So what we do is we do something called intrinsic load balancing with the YellowDog platform. We use an Nginx ingress gateway at the front door to give a gateway for all of the incoming traffic, and that will we effectively just use a fairly basic kind of DNS round robin to access that. But then internally, that will distribute requests across the cluster. And when we've got long-running requests as well, we put them through an Artemis MQ. And that helps us with what we call intrinsic load balancing. So that will distribute the load further across the cluster where you've got long-running management of state, where you, for example, with compute requirements in the cloud or workload requirements that we're managing across the clusters.
So as I understand, most of your customers need big compute performance, and you help intelligently provisioning required shapes for those workloads, especially the compute intense workloads. So have you ever faced any difficulty in provisioning specific OCI shapes, maybe a bare metal or virtual machine? So have you faced any sort of difficulties provisioning them, as well as do you happen to use the auto scaling feature of OCI?
We have, yeah, absolutely. So, one of the early learnings, and we partnered with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure for nearly 6 years now. We're one of the first customers. And one of the early learnings in those days is that you're not always going to get the shapes that you need in the regions that you want them. So intrinsic to the YellowDog platform is a number of provisioning strategies, and one of those is called waterfall provisioning strategies. And we allow our customers to come to us and give us a number of constraints and preferences around the types of compute and the types of compute shapes and the location of those and the sustainability requirements of those and the power price performance ratio that they're looking to get from that compute. So the waterfall strategy will allow them to say, these are my ordered preferences of compute. And YellowDog will manage that. It will get them as much as it can from the first bucket of priority. And if it can't get everything it needs, it'll move on to the second and the third. And likewise, as it manages that compute through the life cycle, if you're looking at some of the more, the spot or preemptible type strategies, if spot instances are taken away or preempted, we will reprovision based on that waterfall strategy again.
So how does your resources in private subnet access internet if needed? I believe you are using Internet Gateway, but if you want to tell us more about implementing VCN or subnet, and if you have any specific network configuration that you use.
The challenges really come when you look at the specific customers. Every customer is different. Some of them have very very clear kind of data privacy concerns, and in those scenarios, really what's typically of concern is how the customer's confidential data is moved between their on-premise location and their cloud storage for that high performance compute workload to run over it, and how the results are transferred back to them. So we will very often kind of provision Oracle VPNs to help them with that. They've really come on leaps and bounds in the last sort of 3 years, especially. It's a really good service now. But equally, some of our customers don't have that requirement, and actually what they're really just looking over kind of public access data and are able to kind of circumvent that, and their traffic can run across internet gateways.
Another couple of components I see in your architecture diagram is related to storage. So do you have any specific use case for the object storage and file storage services that your customer demands?
Yeah, so we've got really good support for Oracle Object Store and lots of cloud providers object stores, really because it's a very consistent kind of interaction pattern, and our customers like that. So we have a high level service that abstracts access to that, and we allow our customers to work that into their workflows, so that where they have tasks and workloads that have input and output dependencies, they can define that declaratively within their workloads. And the YellowDog platform will automatically go and pull those dependencies and push those dependencies to and from Object Store. High performance compute, is a simple term, but it actually is very varied in terms of the demands that different workloads and different applications place upon them. It's very typical to need to provision very specific storage solutions within a cluster, things like Lustre, things like BGFS. Sometimes plain old NFS and your FSS server can actually be exactly what's needed. But often, especially when you have kind of MPI type workloads and you've got a very kind of highly interconnected tasks, they can often need very high performance storage solutions to collaborate between the workers.
Thank you. So I have one last question before we wrap up. But what is next that YellowDog wants to leverage OCI for? I think last time when we talked, I think you were kind of hinting that preemptible instances, that is something that in your roadmap that you want to support. Anything like that you want to mention here?
Yeah, actually, the preemptible is no longer on the roadmap because we've completed it and it's released.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. But really, YellowDog's all about scale, and it's about huge scale. So what matters to us, what matters to our customers, and it's price performance and it's huge availability. Some of these clusters we provisioned are many hundreds of thousands of cores, and price is a very sensitive point, and performance of those instances, the speed that we can provision them, the speed that we can deprovision them, and the raw performance of them is critical to our customers when you're multiplying those numbers by many hundreds of thousands. We're looking forward to some of the new GPU shapes. We're getting a lot of demand for GPU, especially amongst some of our media and entertainment customers. The media and entertainment industry has really been hit by the pandemic. All of the live production kind of pretty much had to stop with the early lockdowns in 2020, but that's starting up again, and we're starting to see demand for GPU again.
Thank you, Alan. It was a pleasure talking to you this morning.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you also.
All right, and thanks to all the viewers for tuning in this session of Built and Deployed series. If you are interested, I would highly encourage all of you to subscribe the channel to hear more technical conversations with Oracle customers in the future. Thank you.